What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Bill Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. I hope you guys have been having a good afternoon. Much love to the entire LDBC and the basketball community. You want more basketball content and discussions? Tune in to Basketball Conversations every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. This is where we discuss basketball-related topics, news, debates, and everything else in the world of basketball. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get all the latest notifications when I start dropping videos and live stream. And please spread the word about the channel. If you want to donate to the channel as well, I'll also put in the Cash App and PayPal links underneath the description box if you want to donate any money to the value of this channel, though, too. And your donations will be well appreciated. All right. So let's get down to business here, shall we? This is mostly a continuation to what I discussed about in last night's show. And right now, it's pretty much there's a heavy voice of players that are pretty much signing with Kyrie that pretty much don't want the season to continue. Okay, now what happened as I was talking about on my show last night that Kyrie Irving organized a 150 player conference call to pretty much voice the concerns of a lot of players that felt that their voices and their concerns about playing in a pandemic were not voiced hard enough by Chris Paul and the Players Association. All right. Now, as I read you some of the stuff that was being said on this article here from the Athletic, and I will post the link to this article from the Athletic in the description box. Okay. The NBA Board of Governors approved a 22 team return format for the season last week, followed by the National Basketball Players Association reviving it the next day, beginning seamlessly the inevitable momentum returning to play out of the conclusion of the season that was halted in March. However, there is a group of players looking to take a stand by not playing in the league's intended resumption, and their primary reason for doing so would be in support of the nationwide movement and fighting for social justice reform, plus the growing concerns of the COVID-19 pandemic. We just want to add a little bit of context to it. So the sources that basically talk with the Athletic, okay, a group that consists of 80 plus players, which includes the vice president of the Players Association, Kyrie Irving, that took over for Paul Gasol almost back in January, okay? NBA President Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Donovan Mitchell, and Avery Bradley. Now, keep this in mind. Dwight Howard and Avery Bradley are two of the players from the Los Angeles Lakers that did not agree of returning back to basketball, unlike LeBron James. Bradley, the Lakers guard, was the second person to speak on the call after Irving and was vocal throughout, urging players to take a stand and utilize his momentum to play chess, not checkers. So this is what Kyrie said in one of his quotes. He said, "I don't support going into Orlando. I'm not with the systematic racism and the BS. Something smells fishy. Whether we want to admit it or not, we are targeted as black men every day we wake up." All right. So ESPN reported on Wednesday that players had been on conference call discussing a variety of concerns that includes the conditions inside the Disney World bubble. The Athletic can't confirm that it was part of the conversation and the growing concern among players, but sources say the chief concern and the impetus behind this growing movement surrounds the social justice reform. A little bit into that in a bit. Several notable players started discussions on the movement within the past 2 weeks, starting with the rank and file players and supported by the star power basically by Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, who are also part of the Brooklyn Nets. It has several virtual meetings with many players, and among the players in the call, Indiana Pacers Malcolm Brogdon, Portland Trail Blazers C.J. McCollum, Philadelphia 76ers Joel Embiid, Indiana's Justin Holiday, San Antonio Spurs forward Rudy Gay, Brooklyn Nets players Spencer Dunwoody, Sacramento Kings forward Harrison Barnes, Orlando's forward Alfred Farouk Aminu, Philadelphia 76ers Tobias Harris, Toronto Raptors Kyle Lowry, Utah Jazz Mike Conley Jr., Portland's Zach Randolph, Indiana Pacers Miles Turner, and former player and current NBA Players Association executive Roger Mason Jr. So over the past several months, the United States has dealt with the coronavirus pandemic, which led the NBA season to be suspended on March 11, followed by protests throughout the country after the May 25th killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. Several NBA players have led the protests throughout the nation, and those players are basically Jaylen Brown of the Celtics, Brogdon, Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, Milwaukee Bucks Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Houston's Russell Westbrook, and DeMar DeRozan of the Spurs, and Harris, and among others. Now, this is a big part of what they were talking about in the meeting on Friday. Several points were made on that call, according to the sources that they talked with. So Carmelo Anthony stressed unity, having a sole message and allowing the young players in the NBA a voice. At one point, Anthony suggested having all 80 players on the call donating $25,000 to a cause that they want. CJ McCollum stated that the players must be prepared for the financial dip if they choose not to play, and owners completely ripping apart the collective bargaining agreement. We're going to get into that a little bit later. The the Players Association leadership stated that it is believed that there will be no fans will be permitted into games for the entire 2021 season. Dwight Howard stressed to the players that playing in Orlando will become a distraction from the issues in the country that they're facing, and that they need to unify and use this moment to create change. Donovan Mitchell expressed concerns about playing due to being behind the 8 ball and having not played in a 5-on-5 and being thrust into a competitive environment in 8-game regular season. We're taking a big injury risk, he said, and Mitchell's up for a maximum contract extension for the summer. All right, so Kyrie Irving and Avery Bradley have led the communication efforts of this group. Then, according to the sources, Kyrie has been extremely vocal on the Players Association during calls during the suspension this season, challenging the executive directors Michelle Roberts and Paul Friday about what efforts being to malign the players and the league for sponsorship and money endorsement, or whether it should be solely the players' responsibility. This is Kyrie's way of questioning the norms set by the Players Association. Earlier this week, the New York Times reported that Lakers star LeBron James and a group of athletes and entertainers, including Hawks guard Trae Young, are starting a new group called More Than a Vote to support voters' rights. Although multiple Lakers players are part of the movement that set out social justices, James is not involved in the coalition and is wanting to set out games. According to sources, the players' union said on a call Monday that any player who doesn't want to play doesn't have to, with no financial loss as long as the player has an agreement with his franchise and or medical excuse. Sources have said that Commissioner Adam Sliver reiterated that the sentiment on a Thursday call with 30 general managers, making it clear that those who do not want to come to the Orlando battle do not have to. End quote. Now, let me just get down to the nitty and gritty here, and then we're going to talk about the implications of the CBA in a second. Here's the thing. The social injustice thing is a very, very big issue here, but particularly the issue is a lot of the players felt like that their voices were not being registered through the main leaders of the Players Association. Pretty much, Chris Paul is the president of the Players Association, but he's also great friends with LeBron James. And then last week, the players, those small group of players, which includes LeBron James, pretty much agreed unilaterally that they want to resume the season as long as it deems to be safe. But unfortunately, a lot of the other players that did not want to play were basically excommunicated from those discussions, and they felt that there were concerns about not just social justice reform, but also the COVID-19 pandemic were not being voiced through Chris Paul as much as it should. So then, when they felt that Chris Paul was not doing the job as he was supposed to be doing, they took it to Kyrie Irving, and pretty much Kyrie Irving has leading the charge to force the resurgence of not wanting to return back to basketball. And I love it. And I've seen people, even through the Athletic, article that pretty much called the Kyrie Irving a cancer. He's not a good teammate and all that. What does it have anything to do with what's going on right now? We are going through a pandemic right now, and the league decided to play in a specific spot in Orlando, Florida, where I have to remind once again, like I said in my show last night, where cases right now are spiking through the roof because the state has lifted the social distancing guidelines and all the lockdown procedures. All right, the cases are rising through the roof. All right, and these players are understanding that this is not a safe time to go out and play basketball. And also, you also have to consider, too, Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves lost his mother because of the COVID-19 pandemic, okay? This is really hitting home in the NBA. And don't forget, Donovan Mitchell was also tested positive for COVID-19. Rudy Gobert was the first person in the NBA to be diagnosed with COVID-19. All right. Don't forget, Kevin Durant was also diagnosed with COVID-19. Four other Laker players were also hit with the virus. All right. This is really an issue that is more than just about basketball. And I'm glad that Kyrie Irving has stepped up to the plate and pretty much put the kibosh on the whole thing. Because listen, if the players make it very, very clear that they're going to be united and not playing, they're going to have to be prepared for the financial implications that's going to happen. Now, let me read a little bit of something here that's going to really come hit home to what's going on here. And this is from Bleacher Report that I read last night. Okay. Now listen to me very, very carefully on this. What's really on the line here, and this is from the article from Bleacher Report, as I said, what's really on the line is his $33 million salary for next season. We're just talking about Kyrie, which would be at risk if the NBA decides to rip up the collective bargaining agreement. The CBA is the league's backbone, stipulating everything from the splits related income to players' minimum and maximum salaries. Within the document, the NBA has the right to terminate this agreement upon the occurrence of force majeure events, which means that if any significant event that is forcing the league to shut down or the players don't want to play, therefore the commissioner has the right within the CBA to rip up the current CBA and resume a lockout until a new collective bargaining agreement is reached. Now, let's go back to it again. One of those cool triggers is pandemics, and the CBA breaks down exactly how much it will dock each player in salary. Once and 196 per game canceled. Thus far, the league and the union have been able to negotiate a solution without the NBA invoking this force majeure. Even with games officially lost from the original schedule, all right, only 22 of the 30 franchises will resume, with eight eliminated teams losing 16.6 each on average, the remaining 22 dropping 9 apiece. Should Kyrie and the players gain enough support from the Players Association to back out of the agreement, which I'm hearing right now that there's a lot of support on this, then that means the NBA would no doubt undoubtedly respond to the force majeure. Under the present circumstances, the league is already going to deduct a certain amount from players' checks this season. Implicant in the CBA is a 10% in escrow to make sure that the players don't receive more than their share of their basketball-related income, roughly a 50-50 split with the league. With NBA income far below projections, the players are not going to get any of that 10% return. Furthermore, the Players Associations have agreed to an additional 25% deduction even beyond the current season through their first check of 2021 on January 1st for players with the standard pay schedule. With the NBA expected to resume, which could be a major question now, that may be suspended to an extent. But even if the Kyrie sacrifice isn't extreme, it will still mount to millions. All right. So this is very, very critical here. All right. So in other words, Silver and the NBA are ready to force a lockout if that's what it takes to rebuild a CBA that can accommodate today's circumstances. Without force majeure, the league or union have until December 15th of 2022 to opt out of the current deal following the 2022-23 season. By then, the world will hopefully have a wide distributed vaccine. In the meantime, there is no guarantee the NBA will be able to have its fans in attendance next season, which Silver reported would be an estimated the estimated would reportedly estimated that will result in a 40% loss of revenue. If the league is an $8 billion industry, next season's basketball related income could be $4.8 billion. So this is the kind of risk, you guys, that a lot of the players, what I'm hearing, are willing to take. All right. And this really falls back on LeBron James in a big way. And I'm going to explain to you once again. If you're one of the main leaders of the Players Association and you are trying so hard to resume basketball, but you are not understanding that there are a lot of players that are felt that don't have the same opinion as you, that means you're more focused about yourself than about the interests about the league and about the players. All right. And right now, Kyrie Irving is pretty much taking that responsibility because he sees right now that this pandemic is not going anywhere. And if more players end up getting sick, I promise you, this will be a liability lawsuit that is waiting to happen. All right. And I'm getting sick and tired of a lot of these, trolls and a lot of these NBA fanatics that are so dire that to want to resume basketball, not understanding that this pandemic, this virus is not going anywhere because of the irresponsibility of the U.S. government. So, my 2 cents of this is this. I agree with Kyrie 100%. And you guys have heard me about this many, many times since the pandemic began. All right. The NBA should have canceled the season, taken their losses, and resumed the season back in December, even if they're going to lose a lot of money out of this. Okay. But listen, keep this in mind. Not many players are making LeBron James type money. This is where Anthony Davis of the Lakers is messed up because if he would have signed that contract extension, he would have been good. But because he didn't sign that contract extension, not knowing that the pandemic was going to take place, now he may not get some of that money back, all right, from his original deal. So now it's going to put him in a situation where he may have to be forced to leave the Lakers and find a different deal that is going to pay him the money that he deserves. But we don't know what's going to happen if this league decides to cancel the season, all right? That means that there's going to have to be more renegotiations of a new collective bargaining agreement. I'm telling you guys, this is a mess right now that is really going to become even more worse. You got various players that don't want to play. You got some majority of players that want to play. Okay, you got money being lost by not resuming basketball. Okay, and it's really, really becoming a huge mess that they could have just avoided by just unilaterally uniting together and pretty much said no basketball this season. All right. And you're asking the players to play a condensed schedule with no chances to leave the little bubble facility in Orlando. All right. This is really not making any sense to me. And I am totally behind Kyrie Irving 100% on this. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. Now, when people ask, and this is another thing I'm going to mention this about too. What people have been asking, like, well, why Kyrie Irving has come out now and making a big fuss of this? Well, number one, you have to understand the anarchy of the Players Association. The players have to go to Chris Paul first because the president is the first guy you talked with to talk about any concerns or anything that you need to speak your mind about. But the players were feeling that their voices were not being registered and their concerns were not being recognized by Chris Paul because he's trying to, serve the needs of LeBron James. So then they felt like Chris Paul was not getting the message. So therefore, Kyrie Irving was the next guy in line. And Kyrie did exactly what he was supposed to do. Serve into the needs and the interests of the players. And again, this has nothing to do with about their own personal beef against each other. Nothing to do with that at all between Kyrie and LeBron. This has more to do about the interests and the needs of the players. And Kyrie Irving is taking that by the horns, and he's got major support behind that to really push this through. So I'm telling you guys right now, this is going to be a mess that is going to get even uglier from here on in. And if they decide to resume basketball, I'm telling you, it is going to be a PR nightmare. It is going to look real, real bad. And not many fans are going to come around to watch, some other guys that nobody knows play basketball under these condensed situations. It just does not make any sense to do it at this particular point. Now, the question is going to be if the league decides to cancel scratch the whole, condensed scheduling, okay, what they're going to do when next season starts. Are they going to basically cut the season down, or are they going to basically cancel another season and then pretty much restructure a new collective bargaining agreement? All these things have to be considered when they're going to start having these kind of talks again. So I'm telling you guys, it's going to get worse from here on in. I'm telling you that right now. But I'm going to put the links to the articles that I've read to you guys in the description box so you guys can look for it for yourselves. But I want to let you know that this is really a big issue right now that is much more deeper than basketball. Real talk, you guys. But let me know what you guys think. Are you guys, siding with Kyrie Irving on this issue, or do you have a different take on this? But let me know what you guys think.